Have you ever felt a little jealous of someone else? It happens to the best of us, even our furry friends. Let me tell you a heartwarming story about a cat and a dog who learned a very important lesson. Once upon a time, in a cozy little village, there lived a graceful cat named Mimi and a playful dog named Bruno. They both shared a home with a kind old woman who loved them dearly. Every morning, she'd treat Bruno to a big, juicy bone and give Mimi a bowl of delicious, warm milk. For a while, everything was perfect. But soon, a little green monster called jealousy started to sneak in. When Mimi saw the old woman affectionately scratching Bruno's ears and praising him, she'd let out a tiny hiss. She'd think to herself, why does she love that big, noisy creature more than me? And Bruno wasn't immune either. He'd watch Mimi curled up, sleeping so peacefully on the old woman's lap, and he'd grumble under his breath, that lazy cat always gets the best spot in the house. And just like that, the battle for attention began. Mimi would elegantly leap onto the table and purr as loudly as she could whenever the old woman was near. Not to be outdone, Bruno would bark excitedly and wag his tail with all his might, sometimes nudging Mimi away with his big, wet nose. Their owner would just laugh at their silly antics, but deep down, both Mimi and Bruno were feeling pretty unhappy. Then, one dark and stormy night, everything changed. In her haste, the old woman forgot to latch the front door. The wind howled, and a sudden loud bang from outside sent a shiver down Mimi's spine. Terrified, she darted out into the storm and, in her panic, stumbled right into a deep, muddy puddle. She was stuck, cold, and scared. Her desperate meows cut through the sound of the rain. Hearing her cries, Bruno didn't hesitate for a second. He rushed out into the downpour, his own fear forgotten. He found poor Mimi shivering and soaked in the mud. Without a second thought, he gently picked her up by the scruff of her neck, just like a mother cat would, and carefully carried her back into the warm, safe house. The old woman, seeing her two drenched pets, quickly dried them off with fluffy towels and wrapped them in warm blankets by the crackling fireplace. As the warmth seeped back into her fur, Mimi looked over at her rescuer. In a soft whisper, she said, "Thank you, Bruno. I was wrong about you." Bruno just wagged his tail, his eyes soft. "That's okay, Mimi," he seemed to say. "That's what friends are for. We look out for each other." From that night on, the jealousy vanished. The competition was over. They learned to share their owner's love, realizing there was more than enough to go around. Mimi would often curl up and purr right beside Bruno's warm, furry body, and Bruno would stand guard protectively whenever she took a nap. And so the cat and the dog, who started as rivals, became the very best of friends. They learned a beautiful truth. Jealousy only pushes us apart, but kindness is what truly brings hearts together. Isn't that a wonderful story? It just goes to show that friendship is so much more rewarding than rivalry. If you enjoyed this little tale, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more heartwarming stories. Thanks for watching.